Okay, you guys are really trucking through this course, and it's time to see my face again while we talk about classroom procedures and routines, because this is the cornerstone of classroom management and, coincidentally, behavioral management. So, in this unit, we're going to understand the importance of having the routines and rules and procedures and having it coincide with what's going on at the rest of the school. And then you're going to go ahead as your assessment on this, you're going to create your own classroom matrix and your classroom vision. So you'll start with the vision and then go to the matrix. So, like I said, this is the foundation of having a classroom that runs well. You need to know what are the routines that are going to happen from day to day and week to week and sometimes minute to minute, because this helps the children understand what to expect. Their expectations of what is the next thing is the beginning of them understanding time. And so they need to know what the routines are, what the procedures are, and how they can be successful. So do not have this many rules as Mrs. Munther, okay? The general rule of thumb as far as how many rules you should have for a class is one rule for each year of age. So if you have an infant class, you don't get to really have rules. When you have young toddlers, you can have one rule. When you are teaching adults, like I'm teaching you guys, we can have 18 or more rules, right? Because we want to keep the number of rules focused on what they can developmentally retain and understand. Another problem we have here is that they're all phrased negatively. It is much better to phrase the rules positively and ask for what you want. Asking for what you want is a much more successful way to have a rule than to tell what you do not want. For instance, instead of no eating in the classroom, you can say, we eat in the cafeteria. Okay? So saying what you want versus what you don't want. So I think we've gone over all of these, right? But I just want to make sure that we focus on the reason for rules is not to make your life better as the director. It is not your job to make it better for you as a teacher. The reason to have the rules is so that the children are successful and that it's well organized and they know what to expect. I think these are pretty self-explanatory. When teachers know and use positive preventative management strategies, many of the commonly reported minor classroom behaviors can be avoided. For instance, if you've got good policies, good routines, the children know that when we come in from the playground, we're going to wash our hands and go to center time, or we're going to wash our hands and then sit down for snack or lunch. They know what the routine is, and so they don't come in and feel at sea, so they run around like chickens with their heads cut off or bump into each other and get in each other's way, and then you end up with fussing and fighting. So you need to have classroom management to have effective instructions, regardless of whether you're using self-created curriculum, you're using one of the big ones like Teaching Strategies or Frog Street or Abeka. Regardless of your curriculum, your classroom rules and routines are going to be important to making it happen correctly. So the first of the two assessments for this unit is to create your classroom vision. So here are two different classroom visions for two different teachers. There is no right or wrong answer. This goes back to your educational philosophy that we did earlier in the course, and you need to envision yourself as best you can, use words, use pictures. How do you see your ideal classroom for this semester, this year? What is it like? Here are two different examples, okay? You can pause if you need more time to read. So I want you to think about what your classroom vision is. What do you expect of the children in your room? What do you expect of you? What are you going to be doing? Are you going to be a play partner? Are you going to be an instructional leader? What are your roles in the classroom? And then what do people see? I put see here, but it's also what do we want them to hear? What do we want them to smell? All of those kinds of things when they come into your classroom. What do they get sensorially when somebody comes into the classroom? So how does it need to be set up? What are those centers that you need to have in your classroom? Not every classroom needs all the same centers. What do you need in your program? What routines do I need to develop or to help the children understand? How many times are they going to go outside? Is your classroom a toilet learning classroom? Is it a classroom where the children already can go to the restroom by themselves? Is your classroom a classroom full of diaper changes? That's just one element that you need to think through. Are they cooking in the classroom? Are they doing large-scale art projects? What are the routines and procedures that I need to develop to make those things successful? What are the transition tools that you're going to use? I'm a big fan of songs. I'm not a great singer, but I love to do songs for transitions. Other people like to do it with visual cues or audio cues that are not them singing, like having a bell or something like that. It doesn't matter whether you're using words, music, lighting, doesn't matter, but you need to know what your transitions are going to be. How will I respond to appropriate behaviors and how will I respond to inappropriate behaviors? Again, this will be talked about more later in the course. And what teaching styles and strategies will I use to ensure my vision of student engagement? Those things are going to be part of what you're going to put into your classroom vision. Once we've got your classroom vision, then it's time to move on to our matrix. So that is our second thing that we're going to work on in this section. And the two big questions here are, what are the school-wide behavioral expectations? And then how does your classroom's behavioral expectations match with that? How do they work together? If you are a program that is very much into things like the reward chart that we see here, then you need to be doing that in your classroom as well. If you are a school that expects a lot of gross motor play, your classroom needs to incorporate that as well. So thinking about the school-wide expectations will help you with creating the expectation matrix in your classroom or behavioral management matrix. So here's an example of one that's already been done, and this is for a high school, so that it's totally different. And they talk about the different spaces in the building. The classrooms, the public areas, the transportation and parking lot, and the school-related activities, football games, basketball games, pep rallies, school assemblies, etc. And so along one side, we have the stated goals or values of the school, and then we have the different realms at the school and what are the rules or procedures we need in order to make those things happen. These are high schoolers. They get to have a lot of rules. Okay. They're all going to be at least 13 years old, so they can have more rules. We have to have fewer, so we need to be a little bit smarter about it. So let's look at one that is more for our age groups. So if our expectations are safe, respectful, and responsible, then what are the big routines? What are the big sections? Instead of having school-wide events, we've got entering and exiting the classroom. We've got quiet time. We've got going to the bathroom. Okay. What are the routines? And then in those smaller sections, you can see these are the procedures that we're going to use to go through those procedures. Does that help? Hopefully that helps make a little bit more sense what we're looking for with that grid. So school-wide in our grid, which was a little different than the last one, our school expectations are going to go down the left side, and across the top are going to be your big sections of routine that you want to make sure. Arriving into the classroom, having lunch, nap time, center time, independent work time, playgrounds, all of those will go across the top. You can add as many columns to this as you would like. You're going to be doing it in a Word document and submitting it. So add as many columns and rows as you feel is important. For each routine in your classroom matrix, these are the things that you need to think through. Are they already in place? Are there kids already in there that are doing those routines? How do I convey it to a new child when they move into the classroom? Is there an area where I need to develop a routine or procedure because we're having some trouble in that area? And then what are the steps that we need to do? And the last one of these questions is the hardest one for a lot of people, which is taking a minute for some introspection and thinking about, what do I need to work on myself? What is the hardest one for me to do? For some of us, it's nap time. For other people, it is saying goodbye at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what it is acknowledging that there is a time that you have a little bit of a difficulty and working on it. So here are some examples, and I want you to remember when you're doing it to make sure that your responses are culturally responsive. Responses are responsive. Okay? Are they going to apply to children of different ethnic or cultural backgrounds? Something I want to make sure you have in there is, what is your attention signal? I yell peanut butter and children respond jelly. That is one of mine, is the peanut butter jelly. And then when I have everybody's attention, I go peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time. Because it's fun and it gets everybody's attention, and that works for me. Some people it's a raised hand. Again, there's probably 50, 60 different ones. That needs to be part of what is in your routines, in your matrix. So here's an answer. Here's a couple of other ones. What are the other things you're going to need? We don't need to turn in work, but they might use technology. What do they need to do if they need, I use a pencil here, but art supplies. If they need a piece of equipment, what do they need to do? Those kinds of things. So brainstorm, think through the activities in your classroom from the beginning to the end, and which ones do you need, and start making your matrix. This may be something that you have to revisit multiple times during your first couple weeks in your classroom. And then I suggest looking at it as we move from semester to semester to see if anything needs to be changed. So here is our example. If you have older children, please involve them in the matrix. Ask them to tell you what they think their routines should be. Once you've got it, this is something that's going to go into your substitute folder. This is something you're going to want to share with your administrative staff, and it should be in the classroom so that we can review it if we need to. There are lots of ways to demonstrate it, to share it with others. I don't make sure that if you have rules posted, they are expressed positively about what you want in the classroom, not what we're avoiding. And make sure that they are classroom and school-wide aligned. Okay? So, I think you can do this, right? You're going to be ready. So, congratulations, you've just completed the first step.